Chloe, and I'm here with Gary Shiman. It is such a pleasure. This man does the music on Bioshock for 1 and 2.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your process. Like, what inspires you? I mean, were you shown some of the footage before you started writing the music?
Yes, on Bioshock, I started fairly early in the process, and I had a period of experimentation with musical styles. I was working with the audio director, a lady named Emily Ridgway, and so we basically went back and forth, and I experimented. Ultimately, none of that music ended up in the game. But then when I did start full time, I was given the game was playable in a rudimentary form. So they would play through sections of the game, and they would do movie captures of that gameplay. They would send that to me, and that would be relevant to the particular piece of music that they were looking for that section. So that is always very helpful. Sometimes in video games you don't have that opportunity. They're giving you have no video gameplay. You're basically working off artwork or descriptions from the audio director. So in this case, I did have the opportunity to see what the environment looked like, see what the game looked like, the feel, the mood. So that was helpful.
What's really cool about the environment is that it's got all sorts of different facets to it. Or like, for instance, it's very 50s. The Rapture was built in the 50s. So did you incorporate sort of 50s style music? Was that sort of an inspiration to you when you were writing this music?
I would say my score was more influenced by, in general, the classical music of the early mid-20th century.
Right.
So that would be the influence, and certainly yes, because the Bioshock world was, according to the way they were just describing it to me, it was this intellectual genius, this guy Ryan, who invited all these great artists and architects and musicians into this city to have this, perfect utopia. And of course, it all goes terribly wrong. But because of that, it sort of created this really sort of interesting intellectual world, And so I thought, okay, I can play off of the really interesting music of the early mid-20th century and incorporate that. And then there was also aspects of the music, the score, that was sad and sort of poignant, because it was really sort of a tragic place. It was built initially with the best of intentions of creating this great utopia, and then of course it ultimately went very bad. And so there was, to me, I thought, a sadness to all that and a tragedy. So I try to play that as well in the score.
Can you say anything maybe about Bioshock 3? Do you know what's going on with Bioshock 3?
I can't really say anything other than I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I can't even say whether I'm participating in it, other than saying that from what I've seen, the trailers and all, it looks like it's going to be. And I like the fact that they've gotten away completely from Rapture, from this underworld, because I think they kind of milked that. And you've been there now twice, and so they wanted to, in a way, there's a thin thread between the two projects. Bioshock Infinite is in a different era, 1900, and it's in an almost polar opposite. It's in the sky, But there are elements that sort of tie them together. So.
Right. Well, it's interesting because some of the art design, like the character design, actually seemed a little bit different than the first two, right? So I love the fact that they really are sort of distancing themselves a little bit from the. I expect it to be as great as the first two in very different ways, and I'm very excited to see what happens with that.
Cool.
So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
It was a huge pleasure.
My pleasure too.